Captain Taemin stared at the display screens in his monitoring station. For 3,000 years, the Galactic Confederation had kept peace through something called the Doctrine of Measured Conflict. Wars happened, but they followed rules. Strict. Rules that everyone understood. The Vellani Empire ships moved slowly toward the Quill Collective fleet. Both sides knew exactly what would happen next. They would fight for exactly 72 hours. No more, no less. They would aim for military targets only. Civilian ships were off limits. When the time ended, whoever had lost more ships would retreat. The winner would claim the disputed mining rights to the asteroid field. Taemin had watched hundreds of these conflicts. They were predictable, safe, civilized. "Sir, we're detecting something unusual," said his communications officer, a young Vellani named Boram. Her silicon-based body shimmered as she spoke. "There's an energy signature coming from the Sol system." Taemin looked at the readings. The Sol system was in unexplored space. No intelligent life had ever been detected there. The Confederation had marked it as a low-priority system full of rocky planets and gas giants. "Probably solar flares," Taemin said. "Keep monitoring the battle." On the main screen, the Vellani and Quill fleets were getting into position. Commander Hye Jin of the Vellani Empire opened communications with the Quill Collective leader. This was standard procedure. "Greetings, Collective Leader Dalwan," Hye Jin said formally. "We are here to contest your claim to Mining Zone 77 Alpha. As per the Galactic Warfare Protocols, we propose a 72-hour engagement with standard casualty limits." Dalwan's response came through the hive-mind communication network that all Quill used. "Agreed, Empire Commander. We accept the terms. May the most worthy claim victory." Both fleets began their careful dance. Ships moved in formation. Weapons charged slowly. Everything was organized and proper. This was how civilized beings fought wars. Then Boram's station lit up with alarms. "Sir, massive energy spike from the Sol system. Something big is coming through hyperspace." A new ship appeared on their screens. It was unlike anything in the Confederation database. The design was aggressive and angular. It bristled with weapons that didn't match any known technology. Most disturbing of all, it was heading straight for the battle zone at incredible speed. The unknown ship opened communications. The voice that came through was speaking a language the universal translators had never heard before. "This is Admiral Dongwu of the United Earth Defense Force," the voice said after the translators finally locked onto the signal. "You have 30 minutes to cease all hostile actions in this sector, or we will consider you enemy combatants." Silence filled the monitoring station. Taemin had never heard anything like this. Who were these beings? How did they develop faster than light travel without the Confederation knowing? And why were they making demands? Commander Hye Jin responded first. "Unknown vessel, you are interfering with a sanctioned Confederation conflict. We are conducting warfare according to established protocols. Please withdraw." "Warfare, Admiral." Dongwu's voice carried something that made Taemin's scales tingle with unease. "You call this warfare? I see two fleets playing games while following rules. This isn't warfare. This is theater." The Quill Collective leader Dalwan joined the conversation. "Alien vessel, we do not recognize your authority. Our conflict follows 3 millennia of established law. We fight with honor and minimize unnecessary death." There was a pause. When Admiral Dongwu spoke again, his voice was cold. "You minimize death? You mean you've made killing more efficient, more polite? People still die in your honorable conflicts, but you've made it acceptable?" Taemin felt something he had never experienced before. Fear. Not fear of death or injury, but fear of the unknown. This Admiral Dongwu spoke about warfare in a way that didn't make sense. The Confederation had spent thousands of years making war civilized. They had removed the chaos and brutality. They had made it orderly. "Admiral Dongwu," Commander Hye Jin said, "our warfare protocols have brought peace and stability to the galaxy. We fight according to rules that prevent unnecessary suffering." "Rules," Admiral Dongwu repeated. "You have rules for how to kill each other. How many beings can die before it becomes impolite? how long you're allowed to fight before you have to stop and shake hands. More ships were appearing from the Sol system, dozens of them. They formed up behind Admiral Dongwu's flagship in formations that looked random but somehow felt threatening. "I'm contacting Earth Command," Admiral Dongwu said. "Maybe they'll want to hear about your civilized approach to murder." The communications channel went silent for several minutes. When it reopened, a new voice spoke. This one belonged to someone called General Su Jin. "Admiral Dongwu, this is Command. We've reviewed the situation. If these aliens want to play war games while real sentients suffer and die, we'll show them what actual warfare looks like." "Understood, Command. Requesting permission to implement human doctrine. Permission granted. Show them what humans do when we stop playing games." Taemin's monitoring station detected massive energy buildups throughout the human fleet. But these weren't the slow, ceremonial weapon charges of Confederation warfare. These were rapid, aggressive power spikes that suggested the humans were preparing for immediate combat. "All Confederation vessels," Admiral Dongwu announced, "you have 15 minutes to withdraw from this sector. Anyone remaining will be treated as hostile." Commander Hyejin tried to maintain diplomatic protocol. "Admiral, we cannot simply abandon our legitimate conflict. Perhaps we can arrange a meeting to discuss." 12 minutes. Admiral Dongwu interrupted. Collective Leader Dalwan attempted to explain. "Human Admiral, you do not understand our ways. We cannot simply stop a sanctioned engagement. There are procedures, protocols." 8 minutes. Taimin watched in growing horror as the human ships began to move. They weren't following any formation. He recognized. They spread out in patterns that seemed chaotic but felt purposeful. Some ships accelerated toward the Confederation fleets, while others took positions that made no tactical sense according to established warfare doctrine. "Admiral Dongwu," Hyejin pleaded, "surely we can resolve this through negotiation. The Confederation has procedures for mediation. Time's up." What happened next would haunt Taimin for the rest of his life. The human ships didn't announce their attack. They didn't specify targets. They didn't limit their assault to military vessels. They simply opened fire with everything they had. But worse than the violence was the realization that slowly crept into Taimin's mind as he watched the human fleet tear through the Confederation forces. These beings weren't fighting to win mining rights or territory. They weren't fighting for honor or predetermined objectives. They were fighting to completely destroy their enemy's ability to fight back. And they were very, very good at it. Ambassador Yuna had prepared for this moment her entire career. First contact with a new species was always delicate, but the humans had already demonstrated they were dangerous. The Confederation needed to establish proper diplomatic relations, quickly. She carried with her the traditional Galactic Warfare Codex, a massive document that had taken centuries to perfect. It contained 10,000 pages of rules, procedures, and protocols that governed how civilized beings conducted conflict. Every species in the Confederation had signed it. The human vessel Soul's Pride was unlike anything in the Confederation database. Where other ships were elegant and flowing, this one was angular and aggressive. It looked like it had been designed for one purpose: fighting. Lieutenant Ji-hoon met the diplomatic party in the ship's conference room. He was young for a military officer, but his eyes held something that made Yuna uncomfortable. He looked like someone who had seen real combat. "Welcome aboard," Ji-hoon said politely. "I understand you want to discuss warfare protocols." Yuna placed the Warfare Codex on the table between them. "Lieutenant, the Confederation has spent 3 millennia developing these guidelines. They have brought peace and stability to our galaxy." Ji-hoon opened the massive document and began reading. His expression grew more puzzled with each page. "Don't understand," he said finally. "You have rules about how many ships can participate in a battle? Rules about what targets are acceptable? Rules about how long a war can last?" "Yes," Yuna said proudly. "We have eliminated the chaos and brutality of ancient warfare. Our conflicts are civilized now." "Civilized," Ji-hoon repeated slowly. "You mean you've turned war into a game?" Yuna tried to explain. "Not a game, Lieutenant. a structured method of resolving disputes with minimal loss of life. For example, civilian casualties are limited to no more than 3% of the total population. Military engagements cannot exceed 1 galactic standard year. Victory conditions are predetermined before combat begins. Ji-hoon stared at her. People still die in your civilized conflicts, but you've made it polite? We have made it humane, Yuna insisted. In the old days before the Confederation, wars could last for decades. Entire planets were destroyed. Billions died needlessly. And now? Now wars are efficient, quick, honorable. The losing side surrenders according to agreed-upon conditions. The winning side gains whatever was in dispute. Everyone follows the same rules. Ji-hoon was quiet for a long moment. Then he activated his communications device. This is Lieutenant Ji-hoon to Earth Command. I need to speak with General Soo-jin immediately. What are you doing? Yuna asked. Getting a second opinion. General Soo-jin's voice came through the communication system. She sounded tired, like someone who had been working without sleep. Go ahead, Lieutenant. General, these aliens have a book of rules for warfare. They limit casualties, set time limits on conflicts, and predetermine who wins before fighting starts. They call it civilized. There was a long pause. Let me understand this correctly, General Soo-jin said slowly. They've created rules that allow some people to die, but not too many. They've set limits on how long people are allowed to kill each other, and they decide who wins before the fighting begins. That's correct, General. And they think this is an improvement? Ji-hoon looked at Yuna. Apparently they do. General, Soo-jin's voice turned cold. Lieutenant, inform these aliens that humanity does not recognize their warfare protocols. If they want to play war games while real sentients suffer and die, we'll show them what actual warfare looks like. Yuna felt panic rising in her chest. General Soo-jin, surely you understand the benefits of structured conflict. Our way prevents needless suffering. Your way guarantees suffering, General Soo-jin replied. You've just made it acceptable. You've put a polite face on murder and called it progress. But without rules, warfare becomes chaos. Yes, General Soo-jin said. It does. And chaos is terrifying. That's why civilized beings try to avoid it entirely, not regulate it. The communication ended. Ji-hoon began gathering the diplomatic materials. I'll need to escort you back to your ship, he said. Captain Minho is mobilizing our defense fleets. As they walked through the corridors of the human ship, Yuna saw something that horrified her. Human crew members were working frantically, but they weren't preparing for a ceremonial engagement. They were converting their ship for war. She watched a human engineer named Yunji remove safety protocols from weapon systems. Another human Dalsu was installing armor plating where windows used to be. Everyone moved with purpose and speed. Lieutenant, Yuna said desperately, you don't understand. We have procedures for this. Mediation councils, arbitration panels, diplomatic solutions. We don't have to fight. Ji-hoon stopped walking. Ambassador, let me ask you something. In your civilized wars, do people die? Some casualties are inevitable in any conflict. That's not what I asked. Do people die? Yes, but then you're not avoiding war. You're just making it more convenient. They reached the docking bay where Yuna's shuttle waited. Through the massive doors, she could see more human ships arriving. They were coming from all directions, and none of them looked like the elegant vessels she was used to seeing. Ambassador, Ji-hoon said as she prepared to leave, you should know something about humans. We don't fight to win territory or resources. We don't fight for honor or predetermined objectives. When we fight to make sure our enemies can never threaten us again. But that's barbaric. Maybe. But it works. As Yuna's shuttle departed, she sent an emergency message to the Confederation Council. What she had learned terrified her more than any military threat. The humans weren't interested in following rules. They weren't interested in limiting casualties or setting time limits. Most frightening of all, they seemed to view the Confederation's civilized approach to warfare as something obscene. Her message was simple. The humans do not distinguish between civilian and military targets. They do not fight for predetermined objectives. They fight for total victory through complete destruction of enemy capability. Recommend immediate withdrawal from all sectors near human space. But even as she sent the warning, Yuna knew it was too late. Captain Minho's fleets were already moving. She had seen the preparations, witnessed the speed with which humans converted peaceful activities into military ones. The Confederation had spent 3,000 years learning how to fight civilized wars. The humans had spent their entire history learning how to fight to win, and now they were coming. Captain Yunsu stood on the bridge of the UEDF destroyer Busan's Hammer and watched the Vellani patrol fleet approach. 3 ships, moving in perfect formation according to Confederation protocols. They were beautiful vessels, designed more for ceremony than combat. The lead ship opened communications. Captain Nari, who had adopted a human-sounding name during cultural exchanges, appeared on the screen. Her silicon-based form shimmered with polite formality. "Greetings, human vessel," Nari said. "I am Captain Nari of the Vellani Empire ship, Crystal Dawn. We are conducting a standard patrol of this sector under Confederation authority." Yun Su studied the alien captain. She seemed genuinely friendly, almost excited to meet humans. "This is Captain Yun Su of the Busan's Hammer. You're in space claimed by the United Earth Defense Force." Nari looked confused. "I'm sorry, Captain, but our records show this sector as neutral space. Perhaps there has been a misunderstanding. We can contact the Confederation Council to resolve any territorial disputes through proper channels." "No misunderstanding," Yun Su replied. "You need to leave. Now." "Captain Yun Su, surely we can discuss this reasonably. The Confederation has established procedures for resolving territorial claims. We could arrange a formal hearing, present evidence, follow proper diplomatic protocols." Yun Su looked at his tactical officer Sung Min. The young man shook his head. The Vellani ships were still approaching, apparently not considering the human vessel a serious threat. "Captain Nari," Yun Su said, "I'm going to explain this once. This is our space. You have 10 minutes to turn around and leave." Nari's crystalline features showed genuine distress. "Captain, I don't think you understand Confederation law. We cannot simply abandon our patrol duties. However, if you insist on disputing our presence, we can arrange a formal engagement." "A formal engagement?" "Yes. We can schedule a conflict according to the Galactic warfare protocols. 72 hours maximum duration. Military targets only. Acceptable casualty ratios will be predetermined. The winner gains rights to patrol this sector." Yun Su stared at the alien captain. "You want to schedule a battle?" "It's the civilized way to resolve disputes," Nari said proudly. "We can begin in 6 hours, giving both sides time to prepare. We'll target each other's military vessels only. Whoever loses more ships withdraws. No hard feelings afterward." "Captain," his communications officer Dalho whispered, "they're treating this like a sports match." Yun Su made his decision. "Captain Nari, here's how humans resolve territorial disputes. We don't schedule them, we don't limit targets, we don't set time limits, and we don't stop until our enemies surrender or cease to exist as threats." "But that's barbaric. How do you maintain honor? How do you prevent unnecessary casualties?" "We don't fight unless we have to, but when we do fight, we fight to win." The Busan's Hammer suddenly accelerated toward the Vellani fleet. Nari's ship scrambled to respond, but they had been expecting formal declarations and preparation time. What happened next broke every rule of civilized warfare. The Busan's Hammer began broadcasting something the Confederation had never heard before: human war music. Heavy driving rhythms mixed with aggressive vocals that spoke of battle and victory. The sound alone was terrifying to beings raised on the quiet formality of regulated conflict. "What is that noise?" Nari demanded. "That's AC/DC, Yun Su replied. "Earth band. They make good fighting music." The human ship didn't target weapons or engines according to protocol. Instead, it aimed for the Vellani ship's communication arrays. Without warning, without declaration, the Busan's Hammer opened fire. Nari watched in horror as her fleet's ability to coordinate was destroyed in seconds. The humans had struck first without ceremony, without honor. "This isn't proper warfare," she protested. "No," Yunsu agreed. "This is human warfare." The Busan's hammer employed tactics that no Confederation force had ever seen. It used civilian-grade mining equipment as improvised weapons. It performed ramming attacks with reinforced hull sections. Most disturbing of all, it targeted the Villani ship's supply lines and support systems. "You're attacking our supply vessels," Nari cried. "Those aren't military targets. They're supporting your military operation," Yunsu explained calmly. "That makes them legitimate targets." One of Nari's escort ships, commanded by someone she called Commander Jae-sung, tried to follow human tactics. He abandoned formation and attempted an individual attack. The Busan's hammer responded by doing something no Confederation ship had ever attempted. It fired while moving at maximum speed, using momentum and gravity to increase weapon effectiveness. The attack was so unexpected that Jae-sung's ship was crippled before he could react. "How did you calculate that trajectory while moving?" Jae-sung asked over the emergency channel. "Practice," Yunsu's gunnery officer replied. Within 6 hours, the entire Villani patrol fleet was either destroyed or surrendered. Nari found herself aboard the Busan's hammer as a prisoner of war, something that hadn't happened in Confederation space for centuries. "Captain Yunsu," she said, "I don't understand. You could have won our scheduled engagement easily. Why did you attack without warning? Why did you ignore the protocols?" Yunsu poured himself coffee from a metal cup. "Captain Nari, let me explain something about humans. We spent thousands of years fighting each other. Real fighting. No rules, no time limits, no acceptable casualty ratios. We learned that the only way to end a conflict quickly is to make it so terrible that your enemy can't continue. But the suffering is exactly why we try to avoid fighting altogether. Your people have made war acceptable by making it polite. We've made war unacceptable by keeping it horrible." Nari was quiet for a moment. "The Confederation will send more ships." "I hope not," Yunsu said, "because Admiral So Young of our Second Fleet is implementing human doctrine across multiple sectors. Your people are about to learn what total war looks like." Through the bridge windows, Nari could see more human ships arriving. They weren't beautiful or elegant. They looked functional and deadly. Each one bristled with weapons that didn't follow any design philosophy she recognized. "Captain," she whispered, "what have we done?" Yunsu followed her gaze. "You've introduced humans to a galaxy that's forgotten how to fight real wars. Your people play at conflict while real beings suffer and die under your civilized rules. And now you get to see what happens when someone stops playing." As Nari watched, more human vessels emerged from hyperspace. Each one looked different, as if humans couldn't even agree on how to build warships. But they all shared one characteristic that terrified her. They looked like they had been designed by beings who understood that war was not a game. It was the complete destruction of the enemy's ability to continue fighting. And humans were very, very good at it. Dr. Hyunwoo had spent his entire career studying alien psychology. As a xenopsychologist for the Human Diplomatic Corps, he thought he understood how other species thought. The reports coming in from the front lines proved him wrong. The Galactic Council had called an emergency session. Representatives from every major power in the Confederation gathered to discuss the human problem. Hyunwoo watched the proceedings from the human observer section, taking notes that would terrify anyone who read them. "The humans don't follow any recognizable pattern of warfare," reported Admiral Kethvar of the Quill Collective. "They attack without warning. They ignore civilian and military distinctions. Most disturbing, they seem to adapt their tactics during battle." Collective leader Tal-een, speaking through the Hive Mind network, added more details. "We attempted to study their methods through our shared consciousness. Our drones observed human units operating independently, making tactical decisions without central command approval." Hyunwoo made a note. The aliens couldn't understand individual initiative because they had never developed it. Their species fought as single, unified entities. Humans fought as millions of independent minds working toward a common goal. The Mordak Republic has attempted economic warfare, announced Energy Being Prime Veldos. We disrupted their supply lines, manipulated their currency exchanges, and sabotaged their industrial capacity. What was the result? Asked a Volani representative. They began weaponizing physics itself. Lieutenant Da Yun of their engineering corps converted a star into a directed energy weapon. They turned gravity wells into traps. They've started using nebulae as massive space mines. The council chamber fell silent. Converting stars into weapons was theoretically possible, but no civilization had ever attempted it. The energy requirements alone should have been impossible for a species as young as humanity. Hyunwoo activated his recording device and began broadcasting his analysis to the council. Honorable representatives, he began. I believe I understand what makes humans different. Every species in the Confederation evolved war as an extension of diplomacy. You fight to gain advantage in negotiations. Humans evolved war as a survival mechanism. What does that mean? Asked Council Leader Morseth. It means they don't fight to win territory, resources, or political advantage. They fight to eliminate threats completely. When a human says enemy, they mean something that must be destroyed, not negotiated with. A Quill representative challenged him. But surely they understand the concept of limited warfare, strategic objectives, acceptable losses? They do, Hyunwoo replied. But they define those terms differently than you do. For humans, acceptable losses are whatever it takes to ensure complete victory. Strategic objectives include total destruction of enemy capabilities. Limited warfare means using only as much force as necessary to achieve those goals. Admiral, Kethvar leaned forward. You're saying they cannot be reasoned with? I'm saying they reason differently. Let me give you an example. Last week, Colonel Wu Jin of Earth's Special Operations Command was faced with a Quill hive mind defensive network. Instead of attacking the network directly, he began broadcasting random human thoughts and emotions into your collective consciousness. What was the result? Chaos. Your hive mind couldn't process individual human thoughts. Your drones began acting independently. Your defensive network collapsed in 6 hours. The Quill representative looked horrified. He attacked our minds? He demonstrated that humans think as individuals first, collective second. Your entire military doctrine assumes enemies will act as unified groups. Humans can't be unified because each one is making independent decisions. Reports continued, flowing in from across the galaxy. Captain Sung Ho of the UEDF Incheon's Fury had reverse-engineered Volani shield technology during combat, then improved it beyond what the original creators thought possible. Human engineers were taking alien weapons apart and rebuilding them with modifications that made no sense to their designers. They're not just using our technology, reported a Mordak engineer. They're making it better, faster, more efficient. They understand our science better than we do. Hyunwoo nodded grimly. That's because humans learn by breaking things. Every species in the Confederation learns by following established procedures. Humans learn by experimenting, failing, and trying again. But that approach should take centuries, not when you're fighting for your survival. Humans don't have the luxury of slow, careful development. They innovate under pressure. The most disturbing reports came from psychological warfare units. Human ships were broadcasting what they called war cries, aggressive vocal displays that seemed designed to intimidate enemies. They played music during battles, sang while fighting, and showed emotional responses that confused alien forces. We don't understand their psychology, admitted a Volani combat psychologist. They seem to enjoy fighting. They take pride in destruction. They celebrate victory with loud noises and aggressive displays. That's because they've learned to find meaning in conflict, Hyunwoo explained. Every other species in the Confederation has tried to make war meaningless through regulation. Humans have made war meaningful by making it personal. Council Leader Morseth asked the question everyone was thinking. Dr. Hyunwoo, in your professional opinion, can these humans be defeated? Hyunwoo looked at his notes. Reports of human adaptability. evidence of individual initiative, documentation of technological innovation under pressure, analysis of psychological warfare techniques. Honorable Council Leader, he said slowly, I don't think you understand what you're fighting. Humans don't just participate in warfare. They evolve during warfare. Every battle makes them more dangerous. Every engagement teaches them something new about their enemies. Surely there must be some weakness. Their only weakness is that they try to avoid fighting altogether. But once they start, they don't stop until the threat is completely eliminated. Council chamber erupted in panicked discussions. Representatives argued about alliance formations, defensive strategies, and diplomatic solutions. But Hyun-woo could see the truth in their body language and vocal patterns. They were terrified. Council leaders, he said, interrupting the chaos, I need to tell you something else. The humans aren't fighting you with their full capacity. What do you mean? Every engagement so far has been with advanced forces, small fleets, individual ships. According to my intelligence reports, Earth has been mobilizing its entire industrial capacity for war production. They're treating this as a minor conflict. How is that possible? Because to humans, this isn't a war. This is first contact with hostile aliens. They're still learning about you. Once they finish gathering intelligence, Hyun-woo didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. Every representative in the chamber understood the implication. Humanity hadn't shown them war. They had shown them a demonstration. The real war was still coming. Fleet Admiral Kyung-soo had never seen anything like it. 50,000 alien ships filled the void of space around the nebular gates, the largest fleet in Galactic Confederation history. Every major power had contributed vessels. The Villani Empire, the Quill Collective, the Mordak Republic, and dozens of smaller species had joined together for one purpose: containing humanity. Admiral, reported his tactical officer, Lieutenant Sung-min. Long-range sensors show the alien formation. They're arranged in traditional Confederation battle lines, maximum defensive coverage, predetermined attack patterns, everything according to their warfare protocols. Kyung-soo studied the display. The alien fleet was impressive in size but predictable in arrangement. They had formed up exactly as their regulations required. No innovation, no adaptation, no surprises. How many ships do we have? He asked. 3,000, sir. Admiral In-young is commanding the second fleet. Admiral Byung-ho has the third. You're commanding overall strategy. 3,000 ships against 50,000. Any other species would have retreated immediately. But Kyung-soo had been preparing for this moment since humanity's first contact with the Confederation. Signal all fleet commanders, he ordered. Begin Operation Endgame. The human response to the massive alien fleet was characteristically terrifying. Instead of matching the Confederation's formation, human ships spread out in patterns that looked chaotic but served specific purposes. Admiral In-young's second fleet took positions that seemed to ignore the alien formation entirely. Her ships scattered throughout the asteroid field surrounding the nebular gates, using natural cover in ways that violated every principle of Confederation fleet tactics. Admiral Byung-ho's third fleet did something even more disturbing. His ships began broadcasting false signals, creating the illusion of a much larger human force. Alien sensors detected energy signatures from phantom vessels that didn't exist. Admiral Kyung-soo came a transmission from the alien fleet. This is Supreme, Commander Vashtal of the Combined Confederation Forces. We offer you one final opportunity to surrender. You are outnumbered 17-1. Kyung-soo opened communications. Supreme Commander, this is Fleet Admiral Kyung-soo of the United Earth Defense Force. We've been expecting you. Expecting us? Every engagement your people have fought against us has been preparation for this moment. We've been studying your tactics, your technology, your psychology. This entire war has been one massive intelligence-gathering operation. Silence filled the communication channel. Supreme Commander Vashtal was a veteran of hundreds of Confederation conflicts. He understood the implications of what the human Admiral was saying. You mean you've been deliberately appearing weaker? We've been learning. Every battle taught us something new about how your people think, how your ships work, how your command structures operate. Now we know everything we need to know. The Battle of the Nebular Gates began not with formal declarations or ceremonial preparations, but with a demonstration of human strategic thinking that would become legendary throughout the galaxy. Commander Sang-min executed the first phase of Operation Endgame. Human ships that had been scattered throughout the asteroid field suddenly revealed themselves as a coordinated network. They had been studying the alien formation for hours, calculating firing solutions and predicting movement patterns. The aliens found themselves facing an enemy that seemed to know their every move before they made it. "How are they predicting our tactics?" Supreme Commander Vashtol demanded of his tactical staff. "Sir, they appear to have studied our warfare protocols extensively. They know our regulations better than we do." Admiral In Young's Second Fleet demonstrated another uniquely human capability. Instead of following predetermined battle plans, individual ship commanders began adapting their tactics in real time based on what they observed. The alien forces found themselves fighting not one coherent enemy, but thousands of independent threats that could change strategy without warning. "Their ships are acting independently," reported a Quill Collective leader. "We cannot predict their movements because they're not following any central plan." Admiral Byung-ho's Third Fleet revealed the true scope of human preparation. His ships began deploying weapons and technologies that the aliens had never seen before. These weren't advanced alien systems that humans had captured and improved. These were entirely new human innovations designed specifically to counter Confederation tactics. Admiral Vashtol, his science officer, reported, "The humans are using weapons designed around our specific weaknesses. Their energy frequencies disrupt Vellani's shield harmonics. Their targeting systems exploit gaps in Quill hive-mind communication. Their electronic warfare suites jam Mordak energy being consciousness transfers." The alien commander felt something he had never experienced in centuries of Confederation warfare: genuine fear. "How long have they been planning this?" "Since first contact, sir. Every engagement has been gathering intelligence for this moment." The battle continued for 18 hours, but the outcome was decided in the first 30 minutes. Human forces systematically dismantled the Confederation fleet using tactics that seemed impossible to counter. They didn't just defeat alien ships, they psychologically dominated alien crews. Human vessels broadcast communications that revealed detailed knowledge of alien personal histories, tactical preferences, and psychological profiles. "Vellani Ship Crystal Garden," came a human transmission. "This is the UEDF Soul's vengeance. We know your captain prefers defensive formations because of the Battle of Kepler Station 12 years ago. We know your crew's morale is low because of supply shortages. We know your ship's shield generators overheat when rotated clockwise. Surrender now and you will be treated according to human military law." The psychological impact was devastating. Alien crews realized they were fighting an enemy that had been studying them individually, preparing specific countermeasures for each ship and commander. Supreme Commander Vashtol found himself aboard Admiral Kyung-soo's flagship as a prisoner of war. The human admiral received him in a conference room that overlooked the aftermath of the battle. "Admiral Kyung-soo," Vashtol said, "I don't understand. You could have destroyed our entire fleet. Why did you accept surrenders?" Kyung-soo poured 2 cups of coffee. "Because this was never about destroying you, Commander. This was about ending galactic warfare entirely." "I don't understand. Your people have spent 3,000 years playing at war. You've made it acceptable, even honorable. You've created a system where conflict is inevitable because it's regulated and predictable." Kyung-soo gestured toward the view screen, where human and alien crews were working together to rescue survivors. "We've shown you what real warfare looks like. The kind where entire civilizations can be destroyed. The kind where there are no rules, no time limits, no acceptable casualty ratios. Now you have a choice." "What choice?" "You can continue fighting and face total human warfare, or you can accept peace under human protection." Ambassador Chaewon entered the conference room carrying documents that would reshape galactic civilization. "The Terran Accords," she announced. "A new system of galactic governance. No more regulated warfare. No more acceptable casualty ratios. No more ceremonial conflicts. What do you propose instead? Vashtol asked. Peace through strength, Admiral Byung-ho said as he joined them. Humanity will guarantee the security of all Confederation species. In return, you accept that war is no longer an acceptable method of dispute resolution. And if someone refuses? Admiral Kyung-soo's expression grew cold. Then they discover what total human warfare looks like. What you've seen so far was just a demonstration. Commander Vashtol looked at the human officers around him. They weren't celebrating their victory. They weren't gloating over their technological superiority. They looked like people who had done something necessary but unpleasant. You really don't enjoy warfare, do you? We're very good at it, Admiral Kyung-soo replied. That's exactly why. We try to avoid it. Your people made war acceptable by making it polite. We're going to make it unacceptable by making it terrible. The Terran Accords were signed 6 months later. For the first time in galactic history, war was not regulated or limited. It was simply forbidden, and everyone knew the alternative.